That mountain up behind me there, the one with the big burn on it. You get up on top of that sucker, get on the backside. Things probably happen up there. A lot of grizzly bears up there too. A lot of grizzly bears, a lot of mountain goat. Lots of deer, black-tailed mule deer hybrid around there. What else? A couple moose maybe. More on the backside and a little farther out in the valley bottom. Not so much up on the hill. Now, let's get some sharing going. I got a lot on the go, man. I got so much on the go. So many things. So many people emailing me. So much to do. So lots of opportunities. But I probably get business proposals every single day. People want me to promote their products. I haven't even emailed one of them back ever. It's got an email. Maybe the guys listening right now, I forgot to email you back, and I'll probably forget to tonight. I had somebody email me, they want me to do a show with Steve Ranella and his camera crew hunting for grizzly and elk and moose, I think he said in the email. And just so you know, I don't think the COVID thing's going to allow anybody to come up here this year to hunt, and we don't hunt grizzly bears in BC anymore. And I don't even know if I'd have the time to do it. You never know. But there you go. If you're still watching, there's your answer. I don't know, man. I got so much on the go. What else? That television production company, I sent them basically an answer from me. You know how I speak by now. I wasn't rude. I just told flat out that doing that can absolutely annihilate people's credibility and mislead people, and that's not what I'm about. And there you go. They really want me to talk. They really want to talk to me on the phone. I basically let them know that I'm not a fan of bullshit, and I won't promote it, and I won't do any bullshit in any way. I'm definitely not a fan of TV shows. Actually, as far as I'm concerned, I have a funny feeling that when you do commit to going onto a television show, you more than likely these days today annihilate your credibility. It's just the way it goes. I don't watch television. It makes me want to puke, most of it. But they still seem adamant. They want to talk to me about something. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe somebody in the television world is ready to turn a new leaf and actually help people and tell them the truth. And help begin a crusade of ending bullshit. You never know. I might talk to him one day, or I might not. I don't know. What else? Somebody asked me about fish. Why aren't I catching any steelhead? Well, you know what? If you haven't noticed, I've been putting more effort into trying to film the suckers underwater with a camera than I have when using a fishing hook. That's going to change here. March is usually a fairly hot month. Should be. It's going to be slow anyway, but there's probably going to be a lot more fishing opportunities coming up. And I'm going to go for another week solo. And I'm going to concentrate on the fishing part of it more than the filming. Although I will film too, though, right? All right, here's my little update. What do we got? Hey, Steve, I stumbled on your site a little over a year ago when I was researching the cryptid I had an encounter with. I've been watching your videos ever since. What I saw was not a Bigfoot, although I've always been a believer. Anyway, just about a week ago, to my surprise, your video mentioned a thunderbird, which is what I refer to that I saw. The Native Americans call these things thunderbirds because they are seen during storms and rain. However, typically, the traditional thunderbirds have squared wings with feathers. What I saw was something different. My story, feel free to share. I was driving a minivan on a 5-lane highway traveling northbound with my wife in the passenger seat and my 2 kids in the middle seats. It was a stormy night with light rain around 9 p.m. It was the kind of night where if you're looking straight ahead, it is dark, but when you look up, the sky is light in color, which comes into play shortly. My wife had just got on her phone to speak with a client. She owns her own business. And almost as soon as she started talking, she gestured to me with her finger pointing up, telling me to look up. So I leaned forward and looked up out of the top of my windshield and immediately and literally went into shock. Flying the same direction as we were going, about 25 to 35 feet above, slightly ahead of us, was this ginormous bird creature. It was so big, it could have picked up our van and carried it for a while. Holy shit. It was black in color and the wings were like a pterodactyl. It was so big that the wings moved slowly as it flapped. It didn't look like it had feathers, but more like a bat wing. As I mentioned, we were on a 5-lane highway, 2 lanes northbound, 2 lanes southbound, and a turning lane in the middle. The wingspan covered easily half of that where it flew in the air. If you brought this creature down to the ground level, it would be even bigger. I could see everything but the head because of the angle. The head was not visible. I stared in disbelief for around 30 seconds with a clear view. The creature then shit about 5 gallons of white pasty substance on our van, banked hard left, and eventually I lost sight of it. What? Here's the weirdest part, where people simply do not believe me. This didn't happen in some isolated wilderness. This happened in the suburbs of Chicago, only 5 minutes from my house. Heavily populated area, which is why I'm convinced this thing is interdimensional. When I got home still in shock, I called the sheriff department and asked if anybody else had called in about a giant flying bird, because there were a few cars on the road other than mine. And they said no, and that it was probably a turkey vulture. Yeah, right. The thing is, as big as it was, I wouldn't even have seen it if my wife didn't tell me to look. My son and I scraped a sample of the white pasty shit and put it in a plastic bag for analysis by a professional at some point. During this, I did try to get my wife to stop talking on the phone and look up by gesturing to her like she did me, but she wouldn't. When I later asked her why, she pointed up. She said she saw something out of the corner of her eye on the right flying out of the tree line as she was making the call. There's a picture from the 1800s on the internet with a pterodactyl-like creature in front of a barn with its wings spread out and hunters standing around it. I'm not sure if that photo is real or not, but it's exactly what the wings look like, only the one I saw was much bigger. The History Channel had a story from Alaska where a guy saw a thunderbird flying with a buck in his talons. He thought it was a small plane at first until he got closer and saw it was a bird carrying a buck. This altered my view and changed my life forever. We have no idea the things that are out there. Most people are completely oblivious, just like I was, to the fact that there are creatures and beings out there straight out of a science fiction movie. The science fiction movies had to come up with those things somehow, right? For their movies, where they come up with those ideas. Okay, back to the story. The one positive thing I can take away is now I always keep an open mind. Somebody says I saw something that sounds ridiculous. Who am I to say it didn't happen? I know you saw and focus on Bigfoot in your channel, but if you can please share my story and name if you want, so I can find out if others have seen what I saw. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it for having the elephant balls it takes to risk your livelihood and friendships doing what you do. Mark. Wow, that is a hell of a story, Mark. Thanks for sending that in. Of course I'm going to share it. And as far as the channel being strictly about Sasquatch, it's not. This channel now is just about the people. It's about people and honesty and getting the truth out to the masses. And I am a firm believer at this point. It would take a lot to convince me that I needed to report anything to any government associate, whether that be a police officer. I don't care who it was. You wear a badge and a gun, it doesn't matter to me. You're just another human being. And from what I have been observing and learning, the majority of you are programmed to mislead and lie us as well. Not saying all of you, but the majority of you are and have. It's easily proven, sadly, all right? Not my fault. I'm not making it up. Don't take that as an insult. It's just sadly fact, especially the military, all right? So that is why I am urging all of you to share here with the people and not to leave the power in the hands of an individual or a group. That's the absolute wrong thing to do. You keep your power to yourself and you share it with the people. You keep that power in a big space. Share it amongst all of us. And that's where the power is. That's where the true honest knowledge comes from. All right? Just like I was saying to the social media platforms, the evil ones. You sign up and use those platforms, you give them your energy, you give them your power. And they get everybody's power together, then they own it and they turn it on you. Okay? Doesn't do you any good. So, I don't imagine seeing one of those things in the sky and reporting it to any authority would do anything good. It would do any good. And as far as that sample goes that you did keep, I would strongly suggest you bust that sample up into different packages. Hide one off the property somewhere in a safe location. Don't tell anybody. A friend's gun safe or whatever. Hide it. hide the second one, hold on to the third one, and possibly email me back, and I will find out from a very trusted source on an absolute trustworthy place that you could take that sample and find out exactly what was in it. Wouldn't that be amazing if it was dinosaur DNA that was mixed in with that turd, and that's what that thing was eating in another dimension or something? Wouldn't that be absolutely bizarre? But as far as the different dimensions go, it's looking like that's a very high probability at this point of the game, for certain. For certain, there is something else going on paralleling us without a doubt. And it's really something else for the average brain to entertain or wrap around even a little bit, right? But more on that one day as we gain more knowledge and facts and hear from more people. But if anybody out there has the same experience that Mark shared with us here today, make sure you email it in, or else drop it in the comment section below for Mark to see, okay? Or anybody else that needs to read about that to confirm the experience they had. Hello again, Steve. I've sent you a couple of emails which have read my encounter stories with these forest beings. I've seen several comments and heard other stories about Eastern North Carolina. Regardless, it seems most folks here have never spoken of these beings. It's like if they have never seen one, so to them, they don't exist. They live in denial. Our area is near the Atlantic Ocean. We get abnormal amounts of rain. We are always an exception to common weather patterns. It seems like exaggerating, but the conditions. It seems like exaggerating the conditions, but we are close to the Gulf Stream. Things are unstable. We live where land can be formed, but mostly is used to grow pine trees. We live where land can be farmed, but mostly is used to grow pine trees for forest companies. I was hit by infrasound and mind speak the last time I had an encounter. Leave us alone, don't come back. The message was clear. I have heard quite a bit of what these people in the forest mean to us. My thoughts are they are migrating here during the winter months to bear offspring. I had a late night mind speak with them. I asked, "What are you?" They said they're a tribe of people forgotten by time. I asked, "What do you call the tribe?" They responded, "We are of the trees. We are like the trees." I got the picture of a large group of trees. I don't know the native tongue for group of trees, so I formulated forest people. I believe if Big Paper knows these beings are found out, it could spell the end to logging and forest harvesting. I have no idea what the government is up to here. We have several large national parks / forests and wildlife preserves. Our whole R is like a peninsula between mighty rivers. Our whole area is like a peninsula between mighty rivers, sounds, and the ocean. I was told the land ain't for much, so that's why they grow trees here. I'm not going to speculate in other folks' motives, but I'm not going back in the woods without heavy firearms. Anything that can snap a 6-inch pine tree 30 feet tall and walk quiet as a panther don't need to be fooled with. Don't need to be fooled with. I have 62 years in the woods and swamps, and no, I don't know if they were here, but I know now. And no, I did not know they were here, but I know now. They are everywhere. Please leave me anonymous. Peace to you and yours. Wow. Yeah. Sometimes they half expect to get blasted with a little bit of that mind speak one day. I'd be curious. I'm open to it. I'd be open to hearing something, anything, trying to communicate with me that way. That'd definitely be eerie as hell, but I'm open to it. I don't think it would, I don't know, who knows what they would say to me, but I'm open to it. Bring it on. Right? Bring it on. I wouldn't mind experiencing that myself. And, but I think I'd probably try to keep their attention and keep them talking. Possibly. But thanks for sending the email in. Appreciate your time that you took to do it, alright, man? Hello again, Steve. I sent you an email with skunk ape pics a few months ago that you shared on YouTube. It was about my harvested hogs that would get taken before I could come back with my ATV and get them 4 times. And the raccoon that was pulled inside out, licked clean and placed in a fork 12 feet up a jack pine, and then the face-to-face encounter. Heavy breather in a total darkness with 2 hunting buddies. just to refresh your memory. I remember that one, man. Thanks for that. Well, something weird happened again, only 1 month ago, not more than 5 miles from that heavy breather, not far from the Myakka River. I was invited to a hunting/cattle ranch with 6 others for a 3-day hog hunt. We harvested many hogs, but I prefer hunting predators, coyotes mostly. So after setting up a corn feeder about 3 hours before dark, I decided to turn on my alpha dog game caller using a distressed rabbit call and rabbit decoy. Almost immediately, I heard what I thought were .22 caliber gunshots. When I turned off the collar, I kept hearing what I thought were .22 gunshots in a steady rhythm, but there wasn't an echo from the shots, or an impact sound. And the sounds were coming from the inside of a super thick 2-acre swampy part of the area I was hunting. I was set up on the edge of a hammock, old-growth Florida jungle next to a huge 70-acre cut field, perfect for coyotes. Anyway, I started walking towards this gunshot sounds, wondering how my buddies got by me into that swampy thicket without me seeing them. A couple snowmobilers went by on that Valley Bottom Road. I was 150 yards from the sounds. Walked to about 75 yards and realized they weren't .22 gunshots, but something else, more organic sounding. Deeper sound, but not loud enough to be a firearm. That's the only way I can describe that sound. Curious, I looked at my scope to check it out. The sounds changed. I heard tree branches being torn off trees, wood cracking loud and strong. Snap, rip. Then the sound of bushes shaking. This went on for 5 minutes. I didn't bother getting closer. I didn't ask the landowner about it either, as he is my boss. I'm very tempted to ask him if he's had any weird stuff go on out there in his 500+ acres. Nobody'd stand in 5 foot of boat-sucking swamp water with water moccasins and gators pulling off tree branches for fun. It wasn't cows. They were behind a 5-foot barbed wire on the other side of the ranch, 1.5 miles away. I wasn't spooked. I know there's something in these woods that isn't typical wildlife. I have since I was 12. But I will not go looking for answers in there. I had my trusty .243 with me, and I must say, I'm a very good rifleman, but I wouldn't shoot one of these creatures unless I was forced to. Sooner or later, I believe a body of one of these creatures will be found and displayed. I hunt predators like you do, Steve. I enjoy the challenge because the coyotes have serious skills and are smart. They learn fast. You cannot fool them twice. With a call or a decoy, you will not get another opportunity. Coyotes were never ever in central to southwest Florida in the 70s or 80s or even the 90s. I would have known, trust me on this, but now they are everywhere in large packs. When I was younger, early teens, I believed Sasquatch could never survive here in Florida like they do in the northwest part of North America due to food resources and the miserable heat for such a large creature. The only large animals here are aquatic, like manatees and gators. But if coyotes can come here and just take over, like the giant pythons in the Everglades, then there should be enough resources for a skunk ape, Sasquatch, whatever. Anyway, you can use my name if you want, and please post the photos people send in if they are decent pics. I think they will help jog people's memory and even bring a sense of reality to those who don't trust their own eyes, or maybe even have suppressed memories of these creatures, just like the old Florida legends of Black Panthers. Legend can be fact. And as my grandpa shot and killed one in the 1940s in Lake Helen, Florida, for killing the family pony. My mother was teased when she told her friends because Black Panthers don't exist. A camera lends credibility. Sometimes photos can help, and vague photos. Enough said for now. God bless and stay safe out there. Hope you're packing at least a 10 mil sidearm, if you can ever own one in Canada. Jeff Reeves, Venice, Florida. Thanks, Jeff. Definitely ask that landowner with a straight up sincere tone and nobody else around, so he knows you're dead serious, and ask him. Say, what's up? What's going on your property? Is anything a little abnormal going on around here before you're aware of at all? And start with that. That's what I do. And yeah. What else can I add to that? The coyote thing. Yeah, I think it just comes and goes in waves. Different species across the continent, right? Shit just changes nonstop here. But I want everybody to remember this. when you're trying to find the missing pieces to your puzzle, always remember this very strong point. Numerous times, footprints that these beings leave in snow, sand, mud, dirt. Numerous times, people have followed those trackways and they all of a sudden just stop. Okay? Remember that. Remember that when you're possibly leaning towards thinking these things are migrating almost similar to game animals. All right? Remember that. It's not such a simple explanation for them, speculating they live and breed and eat and migrate just like your typical wild animal. All right? We don't know any wild game animals that disappear or vanish at will, or who knows if they're even doing it at will. I don't know. Not many people want to talk about that fact. I'm gonna, because I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. If thousands of people, hundreds of people, thousands of people have seen that same thing around the planet and these people aren't related to each other, they're linked to each other in any way, it happened. It's a fact. There's photo evidence of it too. All right? So don't forget to overlook the clues that you possibly do not want to wrap your head around. All right? Because those clues are going to prove to be very important eventually. All right? Hi, I watch your program all the time, and I really like your program. I want to tell you that what happened to me in regards to Bigfoot back somewhere in, I think it was 2012 or something like that, around November. I was up helping a friend of mine put up a fence for a horse I gave her. We were putting in posts. We kept hearing down the steep ravine something stomping around, breaking branches, and our kids would say, "Hey folks, there's something black down there." I would say probably deer, squirrels or something, like that. We got all the fence done and we started putting all the gate up before we could lead the horse out to this little stall we had, and we decided to go to town, and our twin boys were about 12 years old, and so when we came back, we're pulling down the driveway and she's got woods all around, a big deep ravine down behind the fenced-in area. I start to get out of my vehicle and I seen the boys are standing on the porch, and all of a sudden we hear this big deep screaming sound like it was kind of high up in the air. I looked at her and she looked at me and I said, "Man, I'm going to run down there and scare these cats out of the tree. It sounds like they're killing each other, or going to kill each other, or going to kill each other. It sounds like they're killing each other, or going to kill each other." And so I took off and running, and thank the Lord there was a fence and it stopped me in my tracks, because right on the other side of the fence, I would have ran right into that Bigfoot. I stopped and he was still in a scream, and he had his back towards me and his head was up in the air screaming, and I was hanging onto that fence in shock, just looking right at him. He was reddish brown, kinky, curly hair. That's how close I was to it. It was massively built. Its arms were long, and when he came out of that scream, he didn't know I was there. He come off that scream and the twin boys was running down behind me, and I think he heard them running, and I'm still standing there in shock, and he heard them. He pushed the big trees apart with his arms to get away from us, and he took like maybe 4 big, huge, massive steps and jumped down this ravine, and the boys were saying, "Let's go after him, let's go after him." I looked at them in shock. I said, "No, not me. You can," and that's the first time I've seen one. I have pictures of a baby in a tree. I've seen several different colored ones, and I've heard them talking, and they talk a different language. And one told me that they are tribes, and one was in a tribe called a Sasquatch tribe. If you want to hear a few more, contact me at the phone number, email me back. Thank you and have a good day. Be blessed. Well, there's something for eyeballs, isn't it? Especially that far away. And that is absolutely bizarre that that thing let you walk up on it. Because from what we've understand from many people in the past, the second you lock eyes on them, they stop dead. They know. I've talked to people here in BC, seen these things at a couple hundred yards running down through a ravine. They put the rifle scope up on it, and he said those things are looking square into your eyeball back through the scope. They know you're looking at them on average. I'd say probably 99% of the time when you lock eyes on them, no matter which way they're facing, they know. They know you're looking at them. That's very interesting to me too. So it's quite surprising that thing lets you come up on it like that, for certain. But just like my grandfather, he came up on that one just like that too. It was squatting over the creek near Port Renfrew, Vancouver Island, and my grandpa walked right up on it. Didn't know my grandpa was coming, but when he stepped out and saw it, that's when things shot up and looked at him. And remember, that thing had to spin to look at him, and he had that creek rushing inches underneath his head. He didn't hear my grandpa coming. That's interesting, and lucky that thing went the opposite direction, right? Man. Anyway, maybe it's time to get going, I think. Or I might go down the road. If I see a real cool view, I'll stop and I can see if I can share some more. It's endless. There's hundreds of them, hundreds of emails coming in. It's kind of funny. I've had a few emails from people that have voiced their concern. Almost some people getting angry at me because they said they're not seeing a gun and I'm not packing a gun anymore. I'm like, really? Come on, you guys. Seriously?